question for this evening, you please fill out a card with your name and address. If it's a resolution, put the resolution number. If it's an open question for that portion of the meeting, either put your question or put open, but please fill out a card if you plan on speaking this evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Could we please stand for a pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the record, this is a public meeting of the Bayonne Board of Education, and it is 7:08. The 27th day of April 2022. We're convening in the Alexander O'Connor Auditorium. The presiding officer is Maria Villado, President of the Bayonne Board of Education. Those in attendance include Mr. John J. Neese, our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Kenneth Kopaz, our Assistant Superintendent for Personnel, Ms. Jennifer Vecchiarelli, our Assistant Superintendent for Special Services, Dr. Gary Maida, Board Secretary, Mr. Daniel Castles, our School Business Administrator, Mr. Thomas Fagu Jr., our Assistant School Business Administrator, Dr. Dennis Degnan, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and Mr. Matt Nemi, our Board Counsel. The meeting's open to the public. I will take a roll call. Trustee Burke. Here. Trustee Casillas. Here. Trustee Egan. Here. Trustee Godesky Rodriguez is absent. Trustee Gonzalez. Here. Trustee Sclafane. Here. Trustee Wilbeck. Here. Vice President Munoz. Here. And President Villado.
For the record, adequate written advance notice of at least 48 hours giving the time, date, and location of this meeting was provided as follows. Notice was promptly posted in City Hall at 630 Avenue C on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements of the Board of Education. The Board Secretary sent such notice to the Jersey Journal and Bayonne Community News. Notice was filed with the Municipal Clerk of the City of Bayonne, Ms. Medina.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll start with our agenda, our approval of minutes, our acceptance of communications. I remind everybody, everything is up on our bulletin board. Do I have a motion on minutes and communication?
I'll make that motion.
And a second. So I have a motion and a second. Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Casillas?
Yes.
Trustee Egan?
Yes.
Trustee Godesky Rodriguez is absent. Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Sclafane? Trustee Wilbeck?
Yes.
Vice President Munoz?
Yes.
President Villado?
Yes.
Moving ahead to curriculum, it's resolutions A1 up until A19. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Trustee Wilbeck and a second from Trustee Sclafane. On that motion and second, Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Casillas?
Yes.
Trustee Egan?
Yes.
Trustee Godesky Rodriguez is absent. Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Sclafane? Trustee Wilbeck?
Yes.
Vice President Munoz?
Yes.
And President Villado?
Yes.
Before I introduce finance, which will be resolutions B1 up into including B13, call your attention to B12, which is approval of the adopted proposed budget for the 2022-23 school year. I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Castles, our School Business Administrator, for a short presentation.
Good evening, everybody. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dan Castles. I'm the BA here at Bayonne School District. Tonight I will be presenting the 2022-2023 school year budget. Go ahead, Tom. All right. Before I jump into the numbers, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge some of the people that helped put this budget together. It certainly takes a team, not an individual, to build a budget, and it's a long process. We started this all the way back in November. I want to thank the Board of Trustees, first of all. President Villado, the Finance Committee, for all the long meetings and dealing with me during our back and forths. Collectively, we came up with a great budget, in my opinion. I want to thank Central Administration, including Superintendent Neese. I want to thank the directors, the principals, all the supervisors out there for all their input, the BEA, certainly, for all their input about what the student needs. And finally, I want to thank the business office, Tom Fagoo, Jack Phillips, LZ, Lori, Chrissy. We have such a great team in the business office that helps make all these things go smoothly. Go ahead, Tom. All right, so what is our budget made up of? It's made up of a ton of different funds. The main fund is Fund 10, which is the operating budget. That's the day-to-day activities that you see. Teacher salaries, instructional supplies, all those things are made up of the operating budget. Then there's Fund 20, or Special Revenue Fund. That's all the grants you see. Believe it or not, the preschool is fully funded by a grant. There's also Title I, IDEA. There's several grants throughout the district. There's also other funds. Fund 30 is capital projects, major projects. There's food services, community ed, which is Fund 60, and then payroll agency. So here are all our proposed revenues for the 22-23 school year. As you can see, there's approximately a little less than a $16 million increase. A majority of that increase is due to an increase in state aid, which we'll take a look at in a second. There's a small percentage that's an increase to local sources, which is the increase in the tax levy. So if we look at this as a pie chart, you can really see that we're more, as a district, more dependent on state aid now than we are on local sources, which is the tax levy. And that has changed over time, and a big impact of that has been Senate Bill 2, which changed the way states and school districts were funded. So this is a 10-year look back at the tax impact, where we were in 2013-14 versus where we are in 22-23. And as you could see, we're about, roughly $12 million more in taxes over that 10-year period. This is the change in state aid. So there's a significant difference between where we were in 13-14 versus taxes versus where we are in state aid. And this is a good thing because based on our enrollment, our state aid should have increased. It should increase more, which we'll look at in a second. So the way the state looks at your budget is they come up with this adequacy budget, and that's what you should have to have a fair education for your students. The two pieces of that are your local fair share, what the local community can contribute, and then the other piece we'll look at in a second. So the local fair share, this year we're asking for $71 million. The local fair share calculation by the state, what we should be contributing is $97 million. So technically we're under by $25 million. Okay, now this is uncapped aid. So this is the amount of aid the state should be providing to your school district based on your enrollment. This year we received $92 million. We should have received $102 million. That changes every year based on your enrollment. So we're still under just about $10 million under. So we're still underfunded, but we're getting there. All right, now we're going to look at expenses. Again, revenues go up, expenses go up. Expenses are up by about $16 million. The major increase here is in salaries and benefits, which is a good thing. You want to pay people to teach people. Things don't teach people, people teach people. So that's just about $10.5 million of that $15 million is in salary and benefits. And as you can see, here 77% of our total budget goes to salary and benefits. The state average is anywhere from 75% to 85%, so we're kind of right in that range. So here are some of the things that we added to the budget this year: instructional coaches, physical therapists, occupational therapists, world language teachers. We're also planning on doing several capital projects: HVAC upgrades, schoolyard repaving, St. Andrew's property renovation, CTE renovation, and then 2 textbook replacements. One is chemistry and one is social studies. We're hoping we can continue to do that in different subjects every year. And then 2 new programs, law enforcement and fire sciences program. So I went through that pretty quickly. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you all.
President Bellato, can I say something?
Yes.
Mr. Castles, I would just like to thank you and the entire business office, superintendent, for working on this project. I'd also like to give credit, as you saw in this budget, we've had an increase in state aid, and I would like to give a shout out to our former Assemblyman, Nicholas Chevroletti, who made that possible for years, advocating down in Trenton for us to get that increase in state aid. He should be commended in that, as well as President Bellato and all the other trustees up here that kept on fighting for it. We're still 10 million short, but
We're getting there.
we're getting there, and we're in a lot better position financially from the state than we were just 5 years ago. So thank you.
Because our children are worth that.
Okay, so we have our finance portion. Do I have a motion
I will happily make that motion.
and a second?
I second.
So a motion by Vice President Munoz and a second by Trustee Gonzalez. On that motion and second, Trustee Burke,
Yes.
Trustee Cassius,
Yes.
Trustee Egan,
Yes.
Trustee Godesky Rodriguez is absent, Trustee Gonzalez,
Yes.
Trustee Sclafane, Trustee Wilbeck,
Yes.
Vice President Munoz,
Yes.
and President Bellato.
Yes.
Next up is our personnel portion, Resolution C1, up into including C45. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that move.
Motion by Trustee Cassius and a second
Second.
by Trustee Burke. So on that motion and second, Trustee Burke,
Yes.
Trustee Cassius,
Yes.
Trustee Egan,
Yes.
Trustee Godesky Rodriguez is absent, Trustee Gonzalez,
Yes.
Trustee Sclafane,
Yes.
Trustee Wilbeck,
Yes.
Vice President Munoz,
Yes.
President Bellato.
Yes.
And our last item, Resolution D1, is appointment of personnel to Summer Elementary Blast Program. It's on the bulletin board, D1. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by President Bellato and a second
I'll second.
by Trustee Cassius. On that motion and second, Trustee Burke,
Yes.
Trustee Cassius,
Yes.
Trustee Egan,
Yes.
Trustee Godesky Rodriguez is absent, Trustee Gonzalez,
Yes.
Trustee Sclafane, abstains, Trustee Wilbeck, Vice President Munoz, and
Yes.
President Bellato.
Yes.
Madam President, that is all I have for this evening. I don't believe we have any cards, so I don't believe we have any
Speaking?
questions.
No?
Then I guess we'll allow Mr. Woods to make a statement tonight.
Mr. Castles, I got to lower this down a little bit. So I just want to say, number one, on behalf of the educators in the district, thank you for budgeting to cap, and thank you for prioritizing the needs that were necessary in the district, because, you know, when you think about a lot of the things that have gone through in the past, there's been some needs and neglects that have happened, and we're continuing moving in the right direction. And I guess it's a really great coincidence that next week is, even though it's Teacher Appreciation Week, I consider it Education Appreciation Week, Educator Appreciation Week, because we want to think about all those who are educating our students in the classrooms. And you think about some of the great people who have been educators, who have spoken about education. You know, Malcolm X said, education is the passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs for those who prepare for it today. And by making sure we are continuing to bring new educators into the district, supporting our teachers, supporting our students, this is the setup for the future that we've been trying to work very hard to achieve. So for all the educators who are here today, those of you who are home, on behalf of the BEA, we'd like to just say thank you for next week coming up, to appreciate you. And again, we thank you for making sure that the priorities are being shown in the budget, because usually that is where we see the needs. You know, budgets are priorities, and priorities are being shown here. So, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion moved.
Motion by President Bellato to adjourn. Is there a second? By Vice President Munoz. So a motion and a second to adjourn the public meeting. Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Cassius?
Yes.
Trustee Egan?
Yes.
Trustee Godesky Rodriguez is absent. Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Sclafane? Trustee Wilbeck? Vice President Munoz?
Yes.
President Bellato?
Yes.
It is, oops, excuse me. It is 7:22. The meeting is adjourned.